So what we have here is a research article, title and abstract that I've selected for us to try to employ the heuristic for reading comprehension developed by the Rand Reading Study Group in order to explore the three dimensions. So the reader, me, text, which is just the abstract, and then the purposes for reading, which we'll also talk about. So I selected this text because it's from well beyond my experience and expertise as a reader. So talking about the reader first, my background is in applied linguistics and education. It's not within this very general area, which looks to be from some of the words like organisms would be biology. So immediately as a reader, I have a huge deficit in topic knowledge in order to make sense of what the writers, the very many writers, are trying to convey in this abstract. Along with a huge deficit of topic knowledge, I also have a lack of experience reading such texts. So even though I've read many scientific texts within linguistics and within education, I have seldom read any within biology or molecular biology, whatever this is, which causes huge difficulties for me to actually understand, to make any sense of what the writers are trying to say. And this has an impact on the other areas of the reader within the heuristic. So, for example, my motivation to read this is quite low. I don't have much of a purpose to understand this because I don't see necessarily, beyond this activity, of course, I don't see the value in trying to understand this. It would take a lot of effort in order for me to actually make sense of this text. It makes me feel, makes me question my self-efficacy as a reader, makes me feel perhaps inadequate as a reader, not being able to understand this. And because I'm needing to try to focus so hard on the very the densely ordered information, it's certainly one that causes quite a lot of pressure in terms of your or my attention to try to understand this text. So as reader, this is something that I found very difficult, trying to make sense of what the writers are trying to say. In terms of the text itself, what we have are lots of nouns used, or noun phrases used to make the information heavily dense. So research article abstracts are often very limited in terms of length, perhaps to 200 or 250 words. So authors need to do things like nominalization, reduce information to lots of nouns and consecutive nouns in order to heavily load or condense the information into the required restrictions. So we have things like organisms, excuse me, kinase, substrate interaction, fluorescent fusion proteins, lots of instances like this at the surface level of the text. We also have, though, to help the reader to navigate this complex abstract, we have these discourse markers, or meta-discourse markers that kind of guide the reader. For example, one main obstacle to overcome this limitation that help introduce what the writers are about to say. And then, of course, we have lots of what we call propositional content, which is the ideas or the meaning that the writers are trying to convey. Just as an example here, expression of synthetic kinases in the developing embryo resulted in phosphorylation of their respective GFP fusion targets. So this is clearly a central idea which the writers are trying to convey. In terms of the purposes for reading, this obviously is from a academic journal, it's a scientific article, so it's likely that readers will be reading this in order to understand the information contained within it for their various purposes. So, for example, if it's a student, it may be for inclusion within their literature review, perhaps if their research project is covering this particular area, or in terms of professional academics, it might be looking at this article as a source that could be used within their own research. For example, they might be taking inspiration from the particular methodology used in the study, or their own research might have a very close association with what the the researchers are trying to convey in this article. So it's likely that individuals reading this will be reading it to try to comprehend the information in it. They may not necessarily be reading the whole text. So, for example, a research article abstract often is, well, the research article abstract is supposed to be a summary of a research study, so the aims, purposes of the study, the methodologies used, a slight overview of the results and perhaps the implications of the research. So often abstracts are presented in order for readers to see if they want to read more, if they want to actually pursue the entire article, progress to the entire article. So it may be that for their own purposes, they will read the title, they'll read the abstract, and they'll make a decision that actually perhaps this is not as relevant as I initially thought. So that might be one of the ways in which somebody might read this text in order to judge and to see if they would wish to read more.